Hello everybody, so for those who find my video without going through my website, let me introduce myself. My name is Gilles Ortubise and my self-taught and multidisciplinary scientist and inventor name is Gilles Ortubise, and I am the owner and the founder of the first human multi-intelligence.com. So the title of this video is The Solar Nebula Hypothesis Never Existed, Part 2. The first video dedicated to this subject, which is the solar nebula hypothesis never existed, has come explanation that's invalid but in this second video there are other arguments that logically prove that the solar nebula hypothesis never existed. In addition, and according to physical and or astrophysical cause and effect relationship, it is possible in a laboratory that is large enough and maintained at a temperature that is minus 273.15 Celsius degree to collide dust that is frozen at the same temperature, so minus 273.15 degree Celsius, against each other. So of course not then, but that this can lead to the magical formation of the beginning of small objects of a telluric natures at very high temperatures. This is totally unrealistic and totally wrong, because this kind of accommodating, naive, delusional, wishful thinking cannot exist, and even less to ultimately succeed in forming small objects which contain in their center matter in a state of fusion, and then until the formation of objects of the size of planets like the ones of the solar system. Well, in the case of black celestial spheres of small sizes, they can burst on surface and then in relatively weak explosion. And this is especially the case for our previous little black celestial sphere as a result of too much and too rapid absorption of matter liquid enough and cool enough to burst it on the surface. And in addition of sufficiently liquid and sufficiently cooled matter which is interpersed, which objects of frozen telluric nature or various size, which are relatively small for most of them, but which are of sufficient size to have helped to burst on surface and then into a relatively weak explosion. Because the material is sufficiently liquid and sufficiently cooled to make it burst on surface, it comes from a dead black star at the end of its life. So a black star that is completely cooled but not yet frozen, because its consistency was liquid enough and cool enough to be quickly swallowed up by our previous small celestial sphere or any other small celestial sphere like ours. So then, and the fact that a black star at the end of its life, it's no longer hot enough to melt small objects that come into contact with its surface or at the depth. It's remained logical and possible that these small objects of telluric natures or other frozen, that they may have contribute to bursting on the surface, and then in a relatively weak explosion of their 93 floating containers of the 93 species of natural and chemical elements, between that of helium and up to that of the plutonium of our small interior black celestial sphere. But of course, it's these does not concern the atom of the hydrogen. So that it spread up to 1.6 AU and maybe up to 1.7 AU. So AU, it's astronomical unit. So this is what that means. From the little dwarf to permit to the little dwarf millisecond pulsar that has just been born. Subsequently, most of this debris from the 93 floating containers, which are in a liquid state and at a temperature which is at the beginning the highest of all objects in the universe, because it's come from the small black celestial sphere, about ours black celestial sphere. Then they collide. Then they collide with each other to succeed in forming ultimately, well, a small object at beginning and after, until they forming ultimately the 4 planets of our solar system. And a small portion of that debris happens to make it all the way to main asteroid belt to form a small portion of them. And this example of the formation of our solar system is applicable to the formation of all the other planetary systems in the universe. The only planetary system in the universe, they can always be born in this way and nothing else, and absolutely not about the solar nebula hypothesis. Then. So, and yeah, so this accommodating, naive, delusional, wishful thinking of the solar nebula hypothesis, it's far too unrealistic to have existed. In addition to the fact that it presents a number of difficulties which are all or almost all impossible to have any chance of being overcome, and in addition to the fact that it respects no or almost no physical and or astrophysical cause and effect relationship. Okay, so yes, so anyway, I'll come back in some other video to complete this video, this explanation. So, okay, so, and all of my video and all of my theory or concept of my imposing mother theory, they was all in concordance, so they cannot be wrong then. Okay, so thank you very much and see you to the next video.